Hey Lou,
Hey, Riley. Okay, at least I
how
got it
you?
working. All right.
All
Yeah.
right, so let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and start. I know the other two will be here.
And away we go.
What is up, guys? It is the Sports Sir Bradley Walker, and welcome to the Walker Report. We are part of NGSC Sports, guys. Remember the website? It's ngscsports.com for all your current sports content. Happy Thursday, midway through the month of April.
Yes.
Tonight's show we'll be going through some WWE matches from past WrestleManias, as WrestleMania is starts in 2 days, or
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas. We'll revisit the Masters. I'm gonna go. I wanted to ask you because you're an NBA guy, Lou. I wanted to
Yes.
go through NBA grades from every team, and you could tell me if you agree or disagree with
Okay.
the grades. We could start with that if you want, and Adam
Yeah.
could chime in too if he wants. I'm not a big. I don't. I'm not a. I don't know a lot about the NBA, so I'm. This is all
That's
new
why
to
I'm
me.
here.
So
You know,
it's in alphabetical order. So
okay.
I'll do it that way. Starting with the Atlanta Hawks, they give an A plus to. Would you
Uh,
agree with that?
not an A plus. I would give him like a B.
A B? Okay. Okay.
A B.
Okay. Um, they gave Boston also an A plus.
That figures. Ugh. I go throw up now.
um, they gave the Brooklyn Nets a C minus.
Give them an F.
Give them an F.
Give
Okay.
them an F.
All right.
Or
Um,
to put another way, da 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 da. You suck. You suck. Da 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 da. You suck. You because they do.
they gave the Charlotte Hornets an A.
I would give them like a B, like a B. I mean, I will give them credit because they do have an excellent, rookie by Con, and they have made strides. So I think they're worthy of a B. An A, I think is pushing it a bit.
Okay. They
Maybe a
gave
B
the
plus,
Chicago Bulls a D minus. D as in David.
a D, just a regular D,
It's regular D. Okay.
just a regular D. Would not be too cruel.
They gave the Cleveland Cavaliers a C plus.
I'd give them a yeah. That's about it. I C plus is good for Cleveland.
Okay. They also
Yeah,
gave a C plus to the Dallas Mavericks with Cooper Flag.
D minus. Thank you. Because ever since you lost Luca, forget it.
Okay.
Forget
Okay.
it. I know Cooper Flag is a great rookie player, but when you lost Luca, you went straight down to hell.
They
Screw it.
gave the Denver Nuggets a B plus.
Uh, yeah, I'll agree with that.
Okay. They gave the Pistons an A.
Oh, no question about it. Definitely an A. After they've gone through the last 2 years, from 14 and 68 to what trash dump to now this, they're definitely worthy of an A. A
They
plus.
gave they gave the Golden State Warriors a D. D as in David.
Diaz and yeah, disappointment and dismal. Oh yeah.
Okay. They gave the Houston Rockets a B minus.
Uh, yeah, I'll go with that. B minus.
Okay.
Those are
They
borderline teams, so you never know.
they gave the 63 loss Pacers a C plus.
F
F.
F.
Okay. um, they
Anybody that
gave
goes
the
from anybody that goes from first in the conference to last place in the conference in 1 year is definitely deserving of a great big F.
okay. They gave the LA Clippers a C plus.
C minus.
C minus.
You're
Okay.
still not worth. You're still not that great.
They gave the Lakers a B plus. B as in boy.
Um, just a B.
Just a B. Okay.
Just a B.
They gave the Memphis Grizzlies a D plus. D as in David.
Yeah, that's about right. A D plus for them.
Okay. They gave the Miami Heat a C.
I give them like yeah. A C is yeah because it's about average. So a C is pretty much good.
And I think the lowest grade on this list, they gave the Milwaukee Bucks an F.
Yeah, I think they're yeah F. You're probably right because they have done nothing since they won the championship. After that, they just went downhill from there. And of course, there's been other changes in the in departments. So yeah, they were worthy enough.
Because didn't Doc Rivers resign or
Yep.
resign? Resign. That's
Yep.
what I meant to say.
You
Okay.
can't fire me. I quit.
Yeah.
Mm.
They gave the Timberwolves a C plus.
I think they were worthy of a B.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
They gave the New Orleans Pelicans a D minus. D is in David.
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay. They gave the Knicks a B.
Yeah, that's about right. They're on pace with it last year, so a B is, I think, worthy.
They gave the defending champion Thunder an A.
Oh, of course. Exactly.
They gave the Magic a C minus.
I'll give him a C.
Okay. They gave the 76ers a C plus. Who
Give him
I
a
know they
B.
beat
Give him a
Miami
B.
last night. Or
Give him a
Orlando
B. I mean,
last night, excuse
there's
me.
some improvement last year. Give him a B.
Okay. They gave the Phoenix Suns an A.
A minus.
Really?
Nice. Okay. They gave Portland a B minus.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Okay. They gave the Sacramento Kings also an F.
F, definitely.
Okay. They gave the San Antonio Spurs an A plus.
That could be, I can be the way A or A plus because they are a serious challenge, I think, to the Thunder, and I won't be surprised if they do meet in the conference finals. I'm not saying they're going to beat them, but they're going to make a very interesting series if it goes that far. Expect that to go 7 games. So yes, they're definitely worthy of that mark.
They gave the Toronto Raptors a B.
Raptors a B. I think I give them a B minus.
Okay. They gave the Jazz a C plus.
Being generous, aren't we? give them a D.
Okay, and then they also gave the Wizards a C plus. The Washington
F.
Wizards.
F.
F. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Because now they're getting ready to start their playoffs, right? In the playoffs are
The playing
Yeah.
games have started.
The playing games
Okay.
start. The actual playoffs will start Saturday.
okay. Okay.
And for some of the others, like playoffs, you give me playoffs? What are we on playoffs?
Yes.
Playoffs? We suck this year. Playoffs.
Some of those teams didn't make it to the postseason, so
And they only thought they were anyway. No on the hook. But I mean, if you're below 500 and like 35 games out or whatever, and like have like a under 30 win season, you are definitely deserving of an F.
Okay. Fair enough. No, I agree with you. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, who wrote this list? Who wrote this list again?
I think this was score.com was where I got that article from. Either Score or Bleacher Report. One of the two is where I get it.
I don't trust Bleacher Report. I would trust the Score more than Bleacher Report. No, thank you. Ugh.
Okay.
Yuck.
Fair enough.
Bleacher Report's brain dead.
Fair enough. Well, the other sport that's entering the postseason is the National Hockey League.
Yep.
And we had Jonathan Quick play his last game against the Panthers. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool of Sergei Bobrovsky and the Panthers to have him come back out on the ice. I think he was one of the 3 stars of the game, but it was cool how they did like a handshake line with him.
Yeah.
Hall of Famer?
I would think so.
I would think so. 3 Stanley Cups, 2 with the Kings. Yeah, why not?
I think he only got 2.
Yeah.
I heard 3, but
the 3 cups or 2 with LA. I thought it was 2. Could be wrong.
2, but he has one with the Knights.
Oh, that's right. You're correct. I'm sorry. You're right, Lou. I'm sorry. You're right. Yeah.
See, I wasn't surprised when the Kings got in the lead that they were going to do it because they came up with these, experienced players that have been on Stanley Cup teams and whatnot, or at least gone far. So I was not surprised when Vegas got into the playoffs the first season, and it was only going to be a short time before they won the Cup. I was not surprised by that at all. I don't know what the rest of y'all think, but to me, that's like when you got that group of that core group of players coming onto a team in the league for the first time, they may be a new team, but these are not new players. They knew how to win, and that's why they were not your average expansion team.
Well, yeah, he's won 3 Stanley Cups. He won a Conn Smythe Trophy. He's a second team All Star selection. Did he not win a Vezina? Did he ever win a Vezina trophy for best goalie in the league?
Best goalie?
No.
I think he did. No,
No.
he did not.
But okay, here's a question for you guys. What record does he hold as an American-born goaltender?
Most wins?
Most goaltending
Most
wins.
wins.
Most great goaltender.
Most wins as an
great
American
goaltender.
goalie, 410.
Yep.
He's got the most. He
Now, before anybody starts asking, "Hey, Louie, what are you talking about?" That's not true. That's Marty Rodori. No. We said American-born player, not overall. Thank you.
No, yes. Yeah, well, that's good correction because you may have people that'll say, "Oh, that's not right." No, American-born goaltenders.
Yeah, we say American-born player, you schmuck.
And the other thing that's big is Ovechkin, since the Capitals missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
Philadelphia clinched the final playoff spot on Monday night.
Yep.
I guess the question is this his last season? I don't think so. I think he comes back one more year.
Well, he's done
know.
everything, so I don't know what's more going to do. I mean,
That's true.
He has the all-time goal scoring record. He's got a Stanley Cup. I mean, he's won a few MVPs. So, what more do you want?
That's a very, very good question, Lou. I mean, I if he does retire, if he does hang it up, then good for him. But if he does, I have a funny feeling he'll come back and play one more year, and then play maybe 1 year in the KHL, and then he'll hang it up for good.
He produced, so I mean, why not bring him back if he wants to come back? He was 32, 64 points.
I want him to come back for the 2032 Olympics.
If he scores another 30, 40 goals next year, I mean, I can't, unless he gets hurt, I can't see him stopping that from not happening.
Well,
but yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He said he'll make the decision sometime after the season is over. After the playoffs are over, then he'll say he'll make a decision. But I don't know. It can go either way.
No, I really think it could. And if I was Washington, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him back for another year if he wants to come back and play. It's not like he played bad. It's not like he had 3 goals in 30 games and was a non-factor. He still produced at a high level. If you can, it'd be great if you have a couple, 2-3 young guys you want to bring up for your minor league system to work into the rotation. He's a great veteran. Is he a free agent this year?
Yes.
So he could go anywhere.
Yeah. He'll come to New York. Wishful thinking.
He could. I mean, I don't see him wearing any uniform in the Capitals uniform. I don't think he's like you said, he's got his cup. I mean, if he was still hadn't won a Stanley Cup, I would see him going to a team that was cup eligible or that he knew that he could go win a cup in. But yeah, he's got his Stanley Cup and they've won MVPs and he's the all-time goal scorer. So, like you said, there's really nothing else he needs. But though he doesn't seem like that hunger is still there. You know what I mean? Like it's not like it's.
Well, I mean, let's see now. 20 years in the league, now past now like about 85 in hockey years and whatnot. So yeah, the hunger I don't think is pretty much there. I mean, you do kind of lose it after after you've done everything and reached a certain age. So that's not unusual. During at this point in his career.
No, I see him like I agree with that. And I think if it would be great to see the Capitals bring him back for one more year, and then if he says, you know what, this is my last year in the NHL. Every home game will sell out. Every home game for the Capitals will
Yeah.
Oh, I
sell
wouldn't
out.
doubt it.
Every game that he's available will sell out.
Yeah, I was gonna say
If he's going to
even
do a
road games will sell out as
if
well.
he's doing a retirement tour,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Washington will sell out every stadium that
yes,
they play in. No, that's if he stays in
Washington.
Washington.
Yes.
They may not want to spend the money. They may want to move that money to somebody else, to a younger star. There, like I said, there may be guys waiting in the AHL that they want to bring up, and they don't want a $40 million cap hit for a guy who's essentially a rental.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, there's two ways to look at that.
And they didn't miss the playoffs by much.
No.
So
But I will have to say that even though I'm not really a fan, I'm happy to see Philadelphia make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They clinched that spot on Monday night in the overtime win over Carolina, so it was cool to see them make. And now they're going to play Pittsburgh in round 1 of the playoffs. So that's cool. Battle of Pennsylvania
Mm-hmm.
to get everything started. And then you have Tampa Bay, Montreal, Ottawa. Is it Ottawa and Carolina? I think it's Ottawa, Carolina.
Ottawa and Carolina.
And then it's Boston and who am I forgetting? Buffalo.
Awesome, Buffalo. You gotta give it a state this year. I mean,
do you guys think Lindy Ruff wins Coach of the Year?
yes.
I think you'd be hard pressed to give it to somebody else.
My money's on Ruff.
Well, I mean, he ended their playoff drought. They won the division. They won the Atlantic Division. So yeah, absolutely, no doubt that he'll win Coach of the Year.
He's third best team in hockey.
Yeah,
or fifth best team, only behind Colorado, Dallas, and Carolina.
Carolina.
Yeah, Carolina was the other team that had.
Can the Avalanche break the President's Trophy curse?
That should be interesting. We'll have to wait and see because that's.
Look what happened to the Bruins a few years ago.
Who did the Avalanche have in round 1?
Don't know yet.
Yeah, we're still debating.
Oh, that's right. Because there's games tonight. That's right.
Yeah, it's still in a debate.
We got games this evening. I forgot about that. There's still.
Yeah.
The Western.
I got the Blues and Mammoth right now.
Who are the teams that have a shot to get in?
LA.
The Kings, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Who I don't know if you guys got to see what's his name? Gave a pretty heartfelt speech. Kopitar gave a heartfelt speech. I think this is his last season. I think he's when the Kings are officially eliminated from playoffs and all that stuff that they are. He's done.
He's got at least 4 more games left.
Yeah. Because it looks like the playoffs start on Saturday. There's 3 games slated for Saturday. You got Sens, Canes, Wild Stars, Flyers, Penguins on Saturday.
Should be good matchups.
Yeah. And then Sunday, again, the Western Conference is still not – there's one team still left. You got Montreal and the Lightning, TBD against the Avalanche, Bruins, Sabres, and then Mammoth, Gold, and Vegas. I'm assuming that'll be the late game because it starts in Vegas. That'll probably be the late game for us on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Right now, it's between LA. If LA wins tonight and Anaheim loses, they will move in front of the Ducks and be the third seed in the Pacific.
Yep.
And that would jumble up your playoff tree.
Because as of right now, the Ducks are leading the Predators 1-0 in the first period.
And I think LA goes a little later on tonight.
They're actually Bud getting ready to drop the puck in about 40 minutes from now, about 9 o'clock
Okay.
in Calgary. They're in Calgary to that, and then
Mm.
Does the Canucks Oilers game have any meaning to anybody? Because Edmonton's in, right? Vancouver didn't make it.
Right, but the Oilers, I think it's just seeding.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that hasn't been decided yet. The 4-5 matchup
Okay. And the Avalanche have a
other
game
3-2
at 10 o'clock
matchup.
against the Kraken.
Right.
The Kraken.
But then again, the Avalanche have already clinched the top spot and they've won the President's Trophy, and Seattle's not
Right.
making the postseason, so that game doesn't really mean much.
Nah.
Although we see the
No.
Avalanche probably arrest a lot of guys
Most likely.
Yeah.
in that game.
I've never been a big believer in that though.
In the President's Trophy?
In resting guys.
No, neither have I. Yeah. Rest or rust.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the only movement, it looks like Edmonton with an Anaheim, well, actually, with an LA win and an Anaheim win and an Edmonton loss, because they go a little later on tonight, right, against Vancouver. So that's an
Correct.
important game for them. If they win, then they have 93 points and are the 2 seed. And if they lose, in Anaheim which is live right now, Anaheim.
LA?
Anaheim is playing, and LA goes a little bit later on.
Anaheim's playing Nashville.
Right. Early in the first. Midway through the first, I should say.
And the Predators are in the playoffs too, right? Did Nashville qualify?
No, Nashville missed the playoffs.
Oh, they missed the playoffs. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's that game. Utah is playing. Okay, so that game has. Well, no, because maybe I'm not really sure. Honestly, I'm not sure if which division the Utes are in.
They're in the I was gonna say Pacific, but I think they're in the Central.
Yeah, you're right. They're in the Central. So that game has no implications on that. So that game's meaningless. But the other games going tonight are incredibly important for seeding. Every playoff spot has been decided. All the teams, the playoff spots have been decided, just not the seedings yet.
So the West is the Avs, Kings, Stars, Wild, Knights, Mammoth, Oilers, Ducks, right? Is that the teams that are in?
Yeah.
Just depends on where they go as far as you guys said, as far as seeding, right?
Yep. And,
well, the Dallas and Minnesota game, that's already been decided right there.
Yeah, that has no bearing on anything.
And the Knights and the Mammoth have already been as well. So it's the Edmonton, Anaheim, LA that will fall into one of those games.
Yeah.
Somebody will play the Avalanche, and then somebody will play each other.
Yeah.
So, okay, cool.
So,
all right.
So Edmonton could go from second and playing Anaheim to last and playing Colorado.
So then then it would be LA and Edmonton in round. And I'm sorry, my fault. It would be LA and Anaheim, Edmonton being against the Avalanche.
Right.
How it falls. Okay.
And then if Anaheim wins and LA wins, if Anaheim and LA win, then they play each other, and Edmonton is knocked. Well, I think Edmonton's playing tonight, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if they win, then it stays the same. It should. Everything should stay the same.
Everything stays the same.
And then Anaheim versus Edmonton versus Anaheim, and LA will go play Colorado. If Edmonton loses, and if Edmonton loses and Anaheim and LA lose, then it stays the same. If everybody loses, then it stays the same. If everybody wins, then it stays the same.
Okay.
If Edmonton loses and Anaheim and LA win, then Anaheim and LA will move up, and Edmonton drops down. If Anaheim loses and LA wins and Edmonton wins, then LA moves up, Anaheim drops down. And if LA loses, then nothing, then everything stays the same.
Okay, cool. Alex just
And that
mentioned
was
me.
by
He's not going to
Clear
be able to
Mud,
come on.
wasn't it?
So just BS again, the OG3.
Oh,
No, that's cool.
I mean,
Obviously, so like I said, the games do mean something tonight because it'll depend on who goes to play LA. I mean, who goes to play Colorado? Basically,
Yeah.
whoever loses tonight. Well, if everybody loses, then it stays the same. If everybody wins, it stays the same. But it seems like whoever loses is the team that has to go play Colorado in round one. Okay.
yeah.
We'll see what happens
Yeah.
there.
And I don't really know if you really want to go play them because they are like, from
Red
what
hot.
I've heard, the top team in the league. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if whoever. I mean, hockey's hockey. Things happen.
Mhm.
Look at the Lightning in 2020. Was it 2019? Yeah,
Yeah.
we were the President's Trophy team and got beaten in the first round by the
Oh,
Blue Jackets and swept. So it can
Yeah.
happen. I mean,
yeah.
it can happen. If you underestimate your opponent, it can,
Which you never do.
definitely happen. Okay, so we are just 2 days shy of WrestleMania. We went through the card last week, but I saw this cool article. These are the top 42 moments in WrestleMania history. So I'm going to go down the
Okay.
list from 1 to the final one, and you guys can tell me. Do you guys have any idea what number 1 would be? Just for shits and giggles.
If I was a betting man, if I had to make a guess, I would say the number one WrestleMania moment would be. Ooh, there's two that I could go with, two that came to my mind, but I'll go with the first one that I thought of, and that's
Okay.
Hogan slamming Andre at WrestleMania 3.
Oh,
And that is number 1. That is number
That's
1,
a
buddy.
classic.
That is number 1.
That's a classic.
Yeah, that's number 1. And I would agree with that. I don't think I'm not going to say anything that can surpass that. I just don't think that was something that was, I don't think they ever thought it was going to happen. Let's just
Well,
say
it
that.
stayed WrestleMania.
Yeah.
It made. I know we've done this. We've done a show before, like top 5 WrestleMania moments or wrestling moments or something like that. And for me, that's number 1 because it made Mania.
Yeah.
WrestleMania was just another until that moment. The first 2 WrestleManias bombed. They weren't well bought. They weren't well liked, and they needed a moment. And they found a way to have a moment, and they needed to have a moment because
Surprising.
if that moment doesn't happen, if they do something differently, or if it doesn't go over as well, it's just another wrestling. It's just another wrestling show, just like any other wrestling show. And
Well, I was
WrestleMania.
going to say that because the first 2 were such bomb, you thought maybe they wouldn't even want to continue it.
Well, that's WrestleMania 3 was make or break. If it
Okay.
didn't go over, it was just another wrestling show. And what's the point of putting on these giant shows with all this talent and all the guys, spending the big money, investing in the show, and it created the WrestleMania moment.
Yes, it did.
Okay, number 2 is Cody Rhodes finishes his story at WrestleMania 40.
I'm surprised that's high. That's that high already.
Number 3 is Stone Cold refuses to quit versus Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13.
Okay.
This is the one that pisses me off the most out of all of them on this list. Seth Rollins cashes in his Money in the Bank in the heist of the century, WrestleMania 31. Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
That's not the one I was thinking of.
Number 5 is Hulk Hogan. Hulk's up against The Rock, WrestleMania 18. think that was Hollywood Hogan.
Yeah.
So the black and white. The next one is the Austin era begins when Stone Cold beat Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 14.
Okay.
I'm surprised that this one's not higher on the list. The Ultimate Warrior defeats Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6. The champion versus champion match. I'm surprised that one's not up there higher than it is.
I said shut up.
The next one is The Rock retires Stone Cold to end WrestleMania trilogy at WrestleMania 19.
That's a good one.
WrestleMania 17, Edge spears Jeff Hardy off ladder in TLC. That was crazy to see him get speared off the ladder in that match. WrestleMania 25, The Undertaker continues his streak with a win over Shawn Michaels. I think that ended Shawn Michaels' career. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I think that was the last match that Shawn had.
Sounds right.
The next one is Becky Lynch wins first WrestleMania women's main event.
Oh, I see the
WrestleMania
fight moment right
35.
there. Sure.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 7, Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth reunite.
Okay.
WrestleMania 7. WrestleMania 35, Kofi Kingston beats Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship. The whole New Day celebration in the ring is kind of cool for that one.
Right.
WrestleMania 38, Cody Rhodes makes surprise WWE return versus Seth Rollins. I think that was the shocking moment for Cody to come back.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 4, Randy Savage wins the WWE Championship tournament. So Macho Man, that's cool. WrestleMania 22, Rey Mysterio wins heavyweight championship in honor of Eddie Guerrero. I know they were good friends.
Yes.
Those two were very close. WrestleMania 24, Shawn Michaels retires Ric Flair. The I Love You super before he hit Sweet Chin music. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
WrestleMania 30, when Daniel Bryan won the WWE Championship, the Yes Movement, where he beat Batista and Randy Orton in the same, and he beat Triple H, then beat Randy Orton and Batista. WrestleMania 37, Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair main event night 1. I didn't even know that there was a main event. Wow. I didn't know that.
Obviously there was.
I didn't know that either. Here's a good one. WrestleMania 25, John Cena's entrance with the army of doppelgangers, with all of them doing the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. That was one of the coolest entrances I can remember at WrestleMania. WrestleMania 38, Steve Austin comes out of retirement to defeat Kevin Owens. Yeah. Anytime you see Stone Cold back at a WrestleMania event, it's always a cool thing. WrestleMania 36, The Undertaker beats AJ Styles in a retirement boneyard match.
Okay.
WrestleMania 12, Shawn Michaels makes boyhood dream coming true by winning the WWE Championship. Not sure who he beat, but that was part of that. WrestleMania 41, John Cena wins how many titles? What was his win? His 17th World Championship.
17th.
Yep. WrestleMania 33, the Hardy Boys return. That was cool. That was in a tag team match.
Right.
The New Day came out. Seth, I'm reading that incorrectly. WrestleMania 10, Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon in a ladder match. If I remember correctly, Shawn Michaels did a frog splash off the ladder to end the match, if I'm not mistaken, to beat Razor Ramon. Yeah. WrestleMania 17, Stone Cold turns heel and joins forces with Vince McMahon, which is kind of awkward, to say the least.
Yes.
WrestleMania 10, Bret Hart wins WWE Championship versus Yokozuna. Oh, yeah. Here's one of the coolest moments at WrestleMania. Randy Orton hits Seth Rollins with the RKO out of nowhere. That is amazing what he did. He went for the stomp. He reversed and hit the RKO on him. That was cool.
Right. Yep.
WrestleMania 31, Sting makes his WrestleMania debut versus Triple H. Think that match could have been a lot better than it was. Than it was. WrestleMania 28, John Cena faces The Rock for the first time. Did not know that was the first time that they had ever met each other. WrestleMania 19, Brock Lesnar wins WWE Championship from Kurt Angle in WrestleMania debut. Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't that the one that he almost broke his neck hitting the shooting star press?
Yep.
I think it was.
WrestleMania 20, The Undertaker and Paul Bearer return.
Mm.
That's cool. WrestleMania 41, Io Sky, Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley in a triple threat match. That's cool. I'm surprised this one isn't really up there either. Brock Lesnar breaks the Undertaker streak at WrestleMania 30.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised that wasn't
Way up, like in the top 5. Would you guys think that's a
I
top
thought it
5
would be, but
wrestling?
I hated that. So,
Me too.
Yeah.
You go back and look at that clip of that black guy in the front row.
Yeah.
His mouth,
Yeah.
his jaw dropped out of his mouth when that ended up happening.
Yes.
So we're just talking about WrestleMania 1 and 2. They actually have a WrestleMania 1 moment. Hulk Hogan teams up with Mr. T for the first WrestleMania main event.
Oh yeah. Well, I was
Yeah.
not paying it for it, we didn't do it. So I had to do it.
WrestleMania 32, The Rock and John Cena fight off the Wyatt family. I don't remember that. I don't remember that one. That I don't remember. Okay. Well, WrestleMania 28, Undertaker, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels end an era. Is that the? Not sure what that means. I'm not really. WrestleMania 31, Ronda Rousey and The Rock attack Stephanie McMahon and Triple H. It's when Steph slapped The Rock and then said, "I'm not going to hit a woman." And then he went ringside and Ronda Rousey was there. The last two are WrestleMania 39. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn beat the Usos in Night 1 main event. And the last one, which again, I'm not really surprised that this one isn't higher on the list either. WrestleMania 30, where you had The Rock, Hulk Hogan, and Stone Cold in the ring all at the same time. I'm surprised that moment isn't higher up on the list either.
Yeah.
Well, that's for modern wrestling fans, but
Right.
if you were a fan of Hogan, you were a fan of wrestling that far back, and then you had
which I was.
Not the Attitude Era. What was the one before that? In wrestling. What was that era called with The Rock and Stone Cold? Was it the Attitude Era? What was it called?
Yeah, the Attitude Era.
Yeah, I think so.
But if you knew, I mean, that I thought that was a pretty cool moment when I think Hogan was there first, and he kept calling it the Superdome, and it was the Silver Dome, or it was the other way. I forget the other way around. And then Austin came out, and then The Rock came out after Austin. Or that was cool. That was cool to see those three in the ring at the same time. We can jump to golf real quick. Rory McIlroy defended his championship at the Masters.
Right.
Pretty good golf down the stretch. I think the only round that really Rory struggled in was round 3.
Oh yeah, I lost 6 stroke lead.
Pretty solid in round 1 and 2, and then he played. I mean, he kind of started off round 4 kind of off the rails a little bit, but got it back on track. And at the end of the day, he was the champion. He won his second green jacket. So once again, he'll be hosting Champions Dinner next year at this time.
Right.
Next year, he'll be hosting Champions Dinner again at Augusta. And the U.S. Open starts soon?
June.
Excuse me.
Father's Day weekend.
Is it? Okay.
Well, depending on the calendar. But...
Yeah, June 18th to the 21st.
Father's Day weekend, like I said.
Yep, that is correct. Yeah, okay, so that's the next time that is the next time we will have a major in golf. I caught this article and I sent it over to you guys. That Live Golf could possibly be collapsing.
Yeah, we talked about that a few weeks
Yeah,
ago.
we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
This is from the BBC.
Hmm.
Ben Collins, and he wrote that Live Golf season to continue amid collapse rumors. And I like how when I put rumors into to copy the article, it gave me a spelling error because you can see rumors is spelled with a U,
Yes.
and that's not how we do it in English. So in America, we don't spell it that way, but in England, they spell it that way. So this is an English article, not an American. as they say, we speak American.
Let's put it this
They
way.
speak English.
Let's put it this way. In English they do it. In American English, we do not.
Correct.
We have English, and American English.
I think I agree with this because you have a lot of the players who have come back. I really honestly
Yeah.
believe that in the end of the day, I think the Saudi Arabian government, who is obviously running Live, thought that they were going to overtake the PGA or merge with the PGA. And when that deal fell through, and I'm one of those guys who believed it was going to happen, so I'm happy to eat my words because I wrote a big article. I thought that the deal was going to get done. It didn't get done. So I'm here to eat my words. But what I'm saying is, if it is true, then the PGA Tour once again wins. So there you go. Because they, at the end of the day, they are they're pretty they've won the battle
Yeah.
in that way. And I think because you had Patrick Reed come back, Brooks
Yeah.
Koepka come back, so you had two of the big ones that left the PGA Tour. Patrick Reed won a tournament this past weekend, the DP World Tour. He won a tournament there. So yeah, I the PGA stands tall again. When it comes to golf. And again, we'll see at the what happens at the U.S. Open. Which I was just looking at that. Where is the U.S. Open? Oh, it's Shinnecock. Okay, in New York, in Southampton. That's cool.
That's what it's gonna be. Oh, nice. Right in the neighborhood.
In Shinnecock. Yep, it's in Southampton, New York.
Oh, you mean Shinnecock?
Correct. That's where the Open is this year.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's been there before.
It says it's Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I forget now. The U.S. Open is not the next one. The PGA Championship is the next one.
Right.
My bad. The PGA Championship's about a month from now, May 14th.
Mother's Day weekend.
Is it Arnamic? I'm not even sure if I'm even pronouncing that correctly. The name of the golf course. It's
Somewhere
in
along those lines.
Pennsylvania. Newton Square, Pennsylvania. It's a par 70. Designed by Donald Ross. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. I know I'm not pronouncing that name correctly. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I forget now that the PGA Championship is the second major. Is the second major of the year, and the U.S. Open is the third major of the year. Where they used to be, the PGA used to be the last major of the year, and now it's the second major.
Right.
With the only major outside of the States, that is the last one of the year, which is the Open Championship. And where is the Open Championship this year? What golf course are they on in the rotation? Let's see. They are playing at Royal Brookdale. Okay. All right. Well, I guess my question is with all the golfers that went to live, they all come back. I saw an interview with Tom Watson, how he thought that the live players were banned for life, but he said obviously that's not the case. So I'm not sure how that is or what the um, prognosis is on that. But yeah, so that's the news on the live tour.
Yeah.
So the WNBA. Oh, good, bud.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder what the percentage is, though. Go ahead, and I'll come back to that in just a second.
Okay. The WNBA held their draft recently, and it looks like UConn. Is he Ozzy Fudd? Am I pronouncing her name correctly?
Ozzy, yeah.
From the UConn. She's the number 1
Yeah.
overall pick.
Elmer's great-great-granddaughter.
To the Dallas Wings. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. She's a shooting guard, 5'11", with she played 39 games, averaging 17 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 48% field goal shoot, 44% from 3-point line. Now 95% free throw shooter. So she's So that did they have any? Did they have expansion teams this year, Lou? In WNBA, or is that last year?
They have 2 this year. They have one in Toronto.
Okay.
And the other one is where is the other? The Toronto Tempo, and I believe the other one's in
Portland.
Portland. Yeah.
Okay.
Portland Fire.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's good that they're expanding. I mean, that's
doing something right.
Right. Yes, okay. Well, I mean, that's good. Like I said, that's good that they're expanding they're expanding the teams, even though surprisingly they've never been in the black as far as revenue goes. So that's the only weird part, is that they've never been in the black, because they're funded by the NBA, right, Luke?
Yes.
Okay.
Why is there so much charging?
And then Detroit, let's see what I say. Cleveland, Detroit, and Philadelphia are getting teams in 28, 29, and 30, respectively.
Oh, cool. Okay. So they're doing future expansion in the league.
Yes.
So do they have an expansion draft, or they just draw like the lottery?
They did have an expansion draft, yes.
Okay. I was just curious how they're like. I know when the NHL adds a team, they have an expansion draft, and then they're able to grab 2 players per team, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. And we are now standing a week away from the NFL draft.
Indeed, we are.
I haven't heard anything rumor-wise about any trades or anything going on. I don't know if I'm sure if by now they would have leaked that some way, shape, or form, but I'm not 100% sure.
I don't think this is a very competitive draft.
Okay.
In terms of availability and needs, like you're gonna have, Mendoza's going number 1, obviously,
without a doubt.
and then it's kind of just you know Take the best man in a position of need.
Yeah, true.
And, I don't see anything in the top 10 that's jumping out at me as like a we need to go up and get him kind of.
Player.
Yeah.
No, I would agree. Like I said, because by now you would have heard some rumblings of teams. We need that guy. So we're talking to this team to move up. And what would it take to move up to that pick to get that guy? And like I said, I haven't heard any news. And the draft is in what? Is it in Pittsburgh?
Is it in Pittsburgh this year?
I think it is.
Yep. And I don't think that it'll be that big of I don't think there'll be really, I can't see a lot of shocks happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be on, guys, next week. I don't know how long I'll be on because I got to be up at 4 a.m.
Right.
But I
We
will.
we can
Go
do
ahead.
our standard show and just
Okay.
we can watch the draft and talk like we normally do and just
Okay. Well, like I said,
kinda-
if anything, but I'll hop off and give you host, and I'll hop off, and then when the show goes on YouTube automatically, I'll go ahead and set that up, and then I'll just retitle it, repicture it, put the description in while I'm at the airport waiting to get on the plane, or as I'm flying, I'll go ahead and do that. But yeah, I don't see anything. I'm looking at mock drafts right now, so I'm curious. They have the Bucks taking Akeem Mesidor, the kid from Miami, as the edge rusher, which I'm not surprised because they need an edge rusher. They need an edge rusher pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have, let's see, they have the Patriots also taking edge rusher Mason Thomas out of Oklahoma. Okay. They got the Seahawks drafting Jerry and Price from Notre Dame. Let's see.
Nothing's good. Nothing left out at me as a like crazy go out and go. Everything seems to be.
Yeah, but they got the Lions taking offensive tackle Spencer Fano from Utah.
I like it. I'm definitely okay with them going and getting he's huge.
Yeah.
And they have the Jets.
Like
Jets taking Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana to help. They have two. Oh, okay. They have Everett Reese of Ohio State going also to the Jets at number 2. So they have the Jets taking a defensive guy and an offensive guy, which is fine. You got 2 picks in round 1. You might as well get 2 needs if you need it.
I wouldn't be afraid to put a trigger on and move back and pick up some draft capital. And trade 16 back to maybe the Cardinals, Arizona, or New York, the other New York team. And you got 16. It's not a bad place. You can trade back into the second round, pick up a couple of picks.
No, I think that would be a good idea because if you unless the guy that you need or want is at that spot, why not move back and get a second or third pick in round 2, or maybe two second round picks, 2 third round picks, trade it back. Yeah, I mean you never know what kind of deal you can make
value
for that pick at 16. Yeah,
because New York is so far off; they're not 2 pieces away, and nobody is jumping out at me as, especially on the offensive side. I've never been a big fan of skill players. early in the draft, unless you have a Larry Fitzgerald or a but those guys are all going to be long gone before you draft at 16. Those kind of guys are going to be long gone. Those lost number one
Correct.
franchise guys at skill positions. So either draft a lineman, defense or offense, or trade back and get draft capital for the second and third round, because that's where you're going to be able to find a lot of value later in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're really high on somebody in the second round who's really not projected as a first round guy, now you've got the capital to go get him and not have to waste a first round pick on a guy and have everybody question
Correct.
your intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think, there are teams out there that can make deals like that. And I know, like, with the Bucks, and as I explained, I was with my best friend and his brother at the Lightning game on Monday night. We were talking about the draft too, and I think not only is this an important draft for Todd Bowles, I think it's also a point for Jason Light, because you keep losing, and you now run into now you are in one of the weakest conference in all football, the NFC South. And but Carolina's getting better, Atlanta's get better. The Saints are going to have another down year, but sooner or later they're going to get better. So the Bucks are going to have to get better themselves, and we'll see what happens this year with them. Like I said, who they pick up, who their pick. It has to be defense, in my opinion, because that's what they need.
Yeah.
They don't really need. I mean, I know last year they drafted the wide receiver. The kid from Ohio State. Why can't I think of his dang name? Let me see. Yeah, Emeka Buka, excuse me. Emeka Buka is the one that they drafted last year in round 1. But I guess that was a good move since Mike Evans left the team. So that was a smart move by Chase Knight to bring in the future. I think that's another reason why Mike Evans left to go to San Francisco, because of that wide receiver room that they have with a big, Abuka. Who's the other guy? Wow, I'm totally drawing a blank. I just had that. Godwin and then Tez Johnson are your top 3 guys, I think. So, and I also think that Mike wants to win another ring before he hangs it up. I think that's another reason why he went to San Francisco.
Yeah.
He went to a team that has a legitimate shot of winning another one with McCaffrey and Brock Purdy. And would you guys consider Jason? Would you consider Kittle the best tight end in the league, or do you think someone's surpassed him?
No, I think Hill's the best in the league.
Okay.
Yeah, right now, but I think Wright Bowers is well on his way to being the best.
I would agree.
The competition.
I think that Freddie Mendoza they just signed Kirk Cousins, right?
Yes.
I think Kirk Cousins, a year with Kirk Cousins, let Freddie Mendoza ride the pine and get his feet wet and get an understanding of how the speed of the NFL.
Yeah.
I forget who it was. It might have been Brett Favre, Kurt Warner, one of those two, talking about getting to the NFL. And I don't remember what it was, but one quarterback was talking about how in college, if you had a step, you were wide open. And in the NFL, if you're even, you're open, and you've got to be able to throw the
Right.
ball. You've got to be able to throw the ball to the guy, to where he's gonna be. And I just wonder. I just think about young guys coming into the league and just how quick the game is, because I talked about this before, but in college you might face 3 5-star players every week, maybe, and in the NFL everybody's a 5-star recruit.
Correct.
Yeah.
Everybody's earned it, and everybody's there for a reason. And it's just so much tougher in the NFL than it is in college, which is harder than high school, which is harder than JV. And everybody is that much better at the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And what you can do in high school, you won't be able to get away with in college. What you do in college, you won't
No.
be able to get away with in the NFL. And there's a reason why the NFL is the pinnacle of professional football in the world. And when it comes to, and that's why the draft is such a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Because as much as as talented as you are, and as hardworking as you are, and as gifted as you might be physically or mentally or emotionally, the other guys on the other side are just as emotionally gifted and talented and willing to put it all out leave it all out on the field for their team.
Well, you can look back, but at Peyton Manning, he led his rookie season. He had the most interceptions of any quarter. I mean, he came out and said that. He's like, yeah, he goes, the game's faster. Like the cornerbacks,
Yes, it is.
my eyes, they know where I'm going, and that's why he went and became the the studier of the system that he did to be able to counteract that. Study film, learn plays and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, and there's been draft busts. I mean, it's guys that they thought were going to go do great in the NFL and were busts overall.
Yep.
It happens, and like you said, going to high school to college, and then college to the pros is they're stronger, faster, and
they're better coached.
Any kind of flaw that you have, once they know you're on film, they got you, because they'll your OCs, your DCs will figure out a way to get you off your game because they know how to do that. And then again, the game moves faster. I mean, we all know that. The NFL moves so much faster than college football. And I agree. I think with Mendoza, yes, you draft him number 1 overall, but I think you let him sit for a year behind Cousins and let him learn, like an Aaron Rodgers did with Brett Favre, like Jordan Love did with Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure there's more examples than just the Packers, but I'm just saying,
those are the two most.
Yeah, and I mean,
and sometimes, you can sit for 5 years behind a guy and learn all you can learn, and you can be a 5-year veteran rookie, and some guys have just got it and some guys don't, and some guys can benefit from a year or two behind a guy, and some guys just never will, and and some guys thrive. Tom Brady, for want of an example, if Bledsoe never gets hurt, Bledsoe never gets hurt. Brady sits behind Bledsoe for a cup. Let's say Bledsoe doesn't get hurt, and they go on to, and they lose in the divisional round, and in 2001, everything else is the same. But they lose in the divisional round. They lose. Let's say they lose to Oakland instead of. There's no tuck rule. Let's say Bledsoe stays healthy. They go on that run. And everything else being equal, Bledsoe they don't get the benefit of the tuck rule call. It's called a fumble, and it's left a fumble. And
Yeah.
whatever, Tom Brady it's a nice story. He made it to the NFL. He was a 6th-round pick, one of the last picks in the league. And it's nice that he made it as a backup, but then he goes, and let's say he wants to test the waters in 2003 because Bledsoe stays and he ends up going to Buffalo. Let's say he goes to Buffalo instead of Bledsoe ending up in Buffalo. And
Mhm.
you don't have the same coach, you don't have the same mentality, and Brady could have a great career. He could set all kinds of records and throw 50 touchdowns a year and be a great piece on a team that's just not that good.
Right.
And they could constantly be 8-8, 9-7, just a piece away. And you think when we think about legacy and Bill Belichick and Bledsoe, they fall apart in 05, and this is all hypothetical, and I don't have a parallel universe machine, so I can't go and look into it, but
Well, I love mine, so
maybe I'll borrow yours when it gets out of the shop.
right.
And so, hypothetically, maybe, Bledsoe and Brady, they win one. Maybe they win that 04 championship together.
Yeah.
And and Brady's Belichick's a good coach. He can get it done. And Bledsoe's he's probably a Hall of Famer now at that point. And Brady, and we're, it's 2026 and Brady plays for 20 years in Buffalo. And, he has a great career, but he doesn't have a Hall of Fame career. It's a borderline Hall of Fame career instead of the greatest of all time. And those little things that can change, coaching, maybe Buffalo just doesn't have that rock solid coaching, tree that Belichick was able to put together for all those years. Whether it was Romeo Crennel or Josh
McDaniel.
yeah, and who knows what could have happened. And and I look at a guy like Freddie Mendoza, he could be that guy. He could be the next Tom Brady. He could be the next Patrick Mahomes. Rock solid, steady in the pocket, makes all the right reads, makes all the right throws, and they're 8-9 because the defense gives up an average of 35 points a game.
Well, and you can even look. You can even say, look at Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah,
and he goes to San Francisco, and
he's in the right situation.
Correct. I mean, they drafted that kid in North Dakota, Trey Lance. Right?
Yeah.
And then he came in and took over Lance's position, and the rest is history. Because Brock's still there, and when you give if the Raiders can give Freddie Mendoza some weapons, and Brock Bowers is one of them. If you can give,
that running back, what's the name of that running back?
Ashton Jeffrey.
Oh, yeah.
Ashton Jeanty, I'm sorry. If they can do that,
if they can
get weapons, he'll be fine.
If they can give him some protection too, and that's going to be the big thing.
Protection, correct.
Absolutely. You could have Jerry Rice, prime Jerry Rice, prime
Emmitt Smith,
prime Johnson,
prime Barry Sanders,
Smith, prime Barry Sanders, prime Tony Gonzalez, and 5 guys who don't deserve to be in the same parking lot, let alone the same field as those guys in front of him. And it's impossible to win football games from your back. I mean, if you give your quarterback a below average offensive line, he's just going to get killed. He's not going to have time. He's not going to have time to observe the field, make the right read, make the right throw, and your running game is going to be non-existent. And that's what a young quarterback needs. He needs a good running game, a consistent 3 or 4 yards a carry where he can just turn it around and hand it off and let the running back chew up some clock and chew up some yards. And then he can and get them in and second and medium and third and short where he doesn't have to make hard reads. It's not 3rd and 14 every other drive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and especially if you can, especially a rookie quarterback, if you can have a good running game that takes the pressure off of him to have to make throws, or like you said, you don't have 3rd and longs. Maybe you can get you get chunk yards. You get 3 or 4 yards on the first 2 downs, or 6 to 7 yards on the first 2 downs. Then you have shorter and short. It makes it a lot easier for a rookie quarterback to go through his progression. And then, like you said too, if you don't have an offensive line to protect him, look at David Carr with the Houston Texans. Got sacked more times than he knew. So if you don't, you have a horrible
look at the
offensive
guy that
line.
just won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He was seeing ghosts.
Correct. Yes.
So,
that's correct, Sam Darnold. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it goes. I guess it's a better. We can look at Sam Darnold for example. He was a guy that was expected to be a day 1 starter. He went to USC, did all the things he did at USC. Was a day 1 starter in New York. Was supposed to be the second coming of Joe Namath, and he was seeing ghosts because the Jets organization is run by a bunch of incompetent fools. And not that I could run an NFL organization any better, but I sure shit couldn't run it any worse.
Which actually the Jets are still in that form right now. So yeah.
Yeah, they're still scrappy.
And putting the fun in dysfunctional.
Yeah, it's no fun.
And football is a game of inches and feet. And when you put in football, it's a game that's played at speed.
Yes.
There's no margin. I wouldn't say no margin because of course you can make mistakes because everybody makes mistakes. We're human. But there's limited margin for error in an NFL football game or in a football game in general. It could be Pop Warner. It could be a group of 12 8-year-olds playing tackle football on the schoolyard. And in the most unorganized game of chaos you've ever seen. And it's still a game of inches. It's still a game of just that little bit better than the other guy. And and it's the thing that I say all the time, and I'll say it till I'm dead. So the other team is allowed to make plays.
Correct.
And sometimes the other team's just a little bit better than you are on a given night. Sometimes your shots go in and their shots don't. Sometimes nobody's shots go in. And you need a couple extra free throws here and there.
Where does that lead you, though?
To a national championship. That's where that
leads.
leads.
Because your shots are going in, then what do you got?
So and as much as the draft, and the draft is more about it's a crapshoot. It's a lottery. You don't know.
Right.
You could get there's a guy, the Jamarcus Russell, right? You draft Jamarcus Russell, and you get the Jamarcus Russell you got, right? The guy who doesn't care, doesn't want to work, doesn't want to put in the effort. And then there's another Jamarcus Russell that's right there, same everything else, but he works.
Yes.
And that's the difference between Jamarcus Russell and a Peyton Manning. Is that Peyton Manning may not have been as physically talented as Jamarcus Russell. Obviously Russell could run. I'm not going to take anything away from him. He was an incredibly talented individual. His problem was that when he got to the league, he didn't want to work anymore. And
figures,
hustle outworks talent, but talented hustle outworks untalented hustle or less talented hustle. Like you can be just as you can take 2 guys. One guy you can column A or player A runs a 4.3 40 with a 44-inch vertical and it benches 20 reps at 225. Yes, these are numbers all I'm making up off the top of my head and pulling out of my ass, so don't quote me on these numbers. And he's very physically talented, he's very physically gifted, and He's incredibly, you can look at Randy Moss. I think I've seen interviews with Edelman, or for want of a better example, Rob Gronkowski.
Julian Edelman, you mean?
I'm babbling. Ignore me.
Okay.
Rob Gronkowski didn't study, didn't watch film, but he didn't have to because he had Tom Brady throwing him the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go to this spot on the field, and I'm going to turn around, and the ball better be there. And when the
Yeah.
ball was there, he made the catch, And for all the hoopla around, certain players and individuals or teams, some guys, like to go back to my example that I started with, and this guy is very clearly physically gifted, and you could have the exact same thing in column B, and column, you could have column B who runs a 4.40, who has a 42-inch vertical. They're almost the same guy, 18 reps at 225. His 10-second shuttle was 9 seconds. The other guy's was 8 seconds. They're very close. And if they put in the same amount of work, the more talented guy is going to be better, no matter how much work the less talented guy puts in. If the other guy puts in enough work to maintain where he's at, he's going to be better.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
And not to switch topics, but to switch topics because it's something that we don't talk about it very often over here on this show, but not something we never talk about. But I was watching the racing on Sunday. They were in Bristol this weekend, and and this kind of in the same vein of talent. And sometimes talent leaves you. Sometimes you can know how to do all the things, and you can have great, in NASCAR, when they brought out the 7th gen car, the idea was that they were going to take the car, everybody was going to get the same basic car. You get the same motors, same shocks, same tires, the playing field was even. Everything was going to be the same across the board. And there was no more engineering changes, very limited on what you could do to the car, how you could set up the car. Because they wanted to get away from it being an engineering battle and make it an on-track battle, where the car you bring to the track is the car you bring with you, and it very much about the driver crew chief relationship. And that translates into all sport. It's not just a racing thing, but it's an all sports thing. And so when you have this, and Kyle Busch, for years and years, he was one of the greatest, won everything but Miss USA. And now when he went over to RCR, in his first handful of races, he won 3 races in 23 or 24. I forget which year he actually moved over there, off the top of my head. But when he first went over there to RCR, Richard Childress, he was winning, and they were successful, and then it all fell apart, and they haven't been able to wrap their hands around what they need to do to make the car drivable for Kyle. And at 40 years old, he's not a spring chicken. He's not even a summer chicken anymore, let alone a spring chicken. And at a certain point, once you've gotten to a certain age, you just don't have it anymore. You can want it all you want, and you can be just as talented as you were 20 years ago. But if your skills, you'd be just as knowledgeable as you were 20 years ago. But if you don't have it, you don't got it.
Yeah.
And
actually, the funny thing that you bring up Kyle Busch, but the bank that I work for, he has our sponsor on his car.
Cool.
The Bank OTK car. I think he's done 2 races this year with that car. The first race he had it in, he wrecked lap 1. Wrecked lap 1. I don't know. He raced this past weekend with it. I don't know where he finished, but
not good.
Yeah, there you go.
It was he had a bad weekend.
Yeah.
Does he still
What
race
do you think?
trucks, or is he just strictly
Yeah,
NASCAR?
every now and again he'll jump in a truck.
Okay.
Oops, that's one. Yeah, he finished 8th in the truck race.
Now, but quick question with NASCAR, does the truck series follow the same schedule as NASCAR, or is it they race on different tracks on different weekends?
That's a hard. Okay, so I just answer it this way. So yes and no.
Okay.
This weekend they're off. The trucks are not running. They won't race again until the 1st, May 1st, which is the Friday. Generally they run on Friday nights. So they're off again. So they won't race this weekend at Kansas. I think they have 2 off weekends. Yeah. They're not. They won't race. They don't race. They won't race at Kansas or Talladega, and then Xfinity and Cup are both at Talladega and Kansas this weekend. So
Right.
and it's a lot. It's a lot,
Yeah.
and and Kyle was talking. They had the in-car camera, and they were talking. I was listening to Kyle's radio, and it just felt like they weren't on the same page. Him and his crew chief. They just could not get the car to come to Kyle. They couldn't get the car in the track, and that's one thing that's so different about motorsports than any other sport. And maybe I think it's very similar to golf. I think golf is probably the closest analog to motorsports, because you can be having you can go out there on Thursday and Friday and shoot 2 great rounds. You can be 3 under par, a 3 under par 69 or 70 or 71, whatever par might be. And then on Saturday and Sunday, and the course is completely going. Thursday and Friday, it was overcast, no wind, and it was cool, and the greens were playing, and you're a hard putter, right? So you like a slower green. Well, then you wake up on Saturday morning, and the cloud cover's gone, and it's you got a noon tee time. You didn't get the early draw. You got a mid draw, or a 3 o'clock, or a 2, God forbid, a 2 o'clock draw, and it's the meet. And the course has been on the sun. The sun's just beat down on the course for the last 4, 6 hours, 8, 12 hours, whatever it might be, and it's hot, and it's playing fast, and you're not and you're already a hard hitter, and and now your shots aren't dropping the way everything's going long, everything's you're just not getting the roll you might want. And it's the same. It's very similar in NASCAR. You go on Saturday afternoon, heat of the day, set your car up. Okay, yeah, this is how we want it to run. We're a mid-pack car, but we can work on it. We can adjust to the track on Sunday. And and it was Saturday. It was mid-80s, no breeze, no clouds. Track was fast, or track was slower, because it's hotter, so the tires weren't as grippy. So track was racing slower, or driving slower, however you want to look at it. Then Sunday morning rolls around, Sunday morning rolls around, it's overcast, and it's humid. It's really, it's 90% humidity, possible afternoon showers.
Mm-hmm.
The track's cooler than it was yesterday. You set up the track to be hot. You set up the car for a slick hot racetrack, and it's cooler. And now you expect it to be you built into the run, expecting the car to build loose, and you went really aggressive on tightening the car up. Well, now Sunday afternoon rolls around, and it's mid 50s with possible rain showers, high humidity, and a strong headwind, and that's all. Then there's a lot of, then kind of like golf. It really depends on what course you're at, what track you're at. And sometimes a headwind, like at Bristol, a headwind may not bother you, but at Kansas, if you got a 25-mile-an-hour headwind blowing down the backstretch, that's gonna slow the hell out of the car. Your car, you be towing an anchor, and now you're instead of being down in the track like you want the car, now the car's up on the track, and or conversely, you set the car to be down in the track because you're expecting it to be warm. You roll up and the track's 20 degrees cooler than it was the day before, and now you got the car down in the track, and you're just slow. You're just slow because the track you got track's grippy. You got more grip. So now the car's not as fast because you expect the track to be slick. So you put extra you tighten the car up. You made the car extra tight because you expect the track to be loose. And so now you spent the last 100 laps in 25th, half a lap down, and you've made 3 adjustments and you still can't get it loose. You can't get it to loosen up. You can't get the car to get it into the track the way your driver might need. And both of you the driver and the crew chief are ripping their hair out and ready to kill each other.
That's the name of the game.
And conversely, and that's the fickle thing of motorsports is you can have one great run. You first 60 laps, first pit cycle, you go out there, the car is hooked up, bad. You're 2.5 seconds in front of the field. You're lapping 25th. You're going by that guy that was, that first guy is now going a lap down. That first guy we talked about, you're putting him a lap down. And simple change. Barometric pressure could drop. Cloud cover comes in. And it doesn't have to be total cloud cover. It could be the sun could go behind the clouds for 10 minutes in turn 1. Now, turn 1 has completely changed. 3 and 4 is the same. Car's still hooked up good in 3 and 4, but turn 1, I can't turn into turn 1 the way I want. And now I'm losing a tenth of a lap to the guys behind me. And it could be a set of tires, could be a fuel load, it could be just picking up debris, it could be the way the track came in, and those factors that are unpredictable. The thing that makes racing interesting, at least NASCAR, because NASCAR races are so much longer than any other motorsports race, except for endurance racing. But endurance racing is such a different animal than any of all the other motorsport. And the rules are so different, and I'm not as versed in endurance racing in the like Le Mans or the 24 hours in like Daytona or Sebring, or anything like that. And because most races are an hour, an hour and a half. IndyCar race or F1 races are usually about an hour and a half, give or take. And then and IndyCar runs a lot of street courses, so they have 6 street courses, 6 road courses, and 6 ovals. But they run so much faster because you can run an IndyCar so much faster than a Cup car, and so the racing is so different, and the disciplines are so different across all motorsports. That it's really hard to compare any motorsport to any other motorsport.
I think you could make the comparison, Bud, to golf and motorsports between the golfer and the caddy and your crew chief and your driver. Because really, your crew chief is the guy that's watching everything going on. You have spotters too, but your crew chief is the one who goes, okay. I remember watching Days of Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget the actor's name. He just passed away recently.
Robert Duvall.
Thank you. Was Tom Cruise's crew chief, and told him, "Hey, you got to make changes. You're going through tires too fast. We got to get you to not go through your tires so fast." So he showed him things. So, like I said, that's kind of like the way you look at golf. We can, if we have Nicole back on in the future, we can talk to her about that because her and her dad's her caddy. But that's the person you trust the most. Yeah. So if the driver and the crew chief are not getting along, that's never a good combination because you're doing one thing, he wants you to do something else. Yeah, it doesn't make it fun.
And it can just be a simple matter of just not being on the same page. No, and it could be simply just asking too much of the car, or asking too much of your crew chief, or asking too much of your driver. They can be on the same page with the same ideas and just both be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Your caddy could look at it and go, 126 yards to the pin, flowing in from right to left. Um, bunker on the left side, water on the right. We're laid up right here in the middle of the fairway. I'm thinking 8-iron, and you're both thinking, yeah, 8-iron sounds right to me. And you both go out there and you line your shot up and you take your shot and you just hit it. I should have been a 9. Well, I should have gone with a 9.
Right.
Or maybe you're a shot off the lead with 3 holes to play, and it's a par 4. You're on your second shot, 126 to the pin, and you're both thinking, well, we got to be aggressive here. We're a shot off the lead with 3 holes to play. And you go for the gold. You're aggressive with that 8-iron, and you miss the green by 10 yards, and you're in the greenside bunker, and you bogey out the hole and you slip behind. Whereas if you just played a pitching wedge and pitched and chipped, and you could be up and down in one.
Right.
Well, you can. Speaking of that, I was watching I watching a YouTube clip today about the top moments in the Masters, and it's funny that you bring that up. But in 2019, the last time that Tiger won,
Right.
Tony Finau and Francisco Molinari, I think, was the one that was in there. I know Francisco has a brother, but they were both in the lead, and Tiger was, I think, either a group behind them. I think he was a group behind them, but they were in front of him. Or no, Molinari was in the same group as Tiger. Tony Finau was in front of him or something like that. But what ended up happening is once they saw his name moving up the leaderboard, just like in the old days, Tiger was in the tournament, you were toast. And I think the pressure got to them, and then they got to the 12th hole, which is the second hole of Amen Corner, 11, 12, and 13, the 3 famous holes at Augusta National. It's a par 3, and they both hit it into Rays Creek. I mean, hit it short into Rays Creek. What does Tiger do? He gets up there and hits it in the middle of the green. Why? Because now you scared those 2 into hitting it into the water. You are now playing safe, and now all you have to do is make a par, and then lo and behold, as we all know, he won the Masters, and that was the last time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the last time we see him at Augusta National, but I think for a while before we see him again.
It was the last time. Well, I'll say it this way. It was the last time we'll see him competitively at Augusta.
There you go. Yes, but I agree. The last time you see him competitively at Augusta National.
And
yeah.
So, and you can say the same thing, and it's the same thing in motorsports. You have a guy. Well, I mean, and sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. Like, just last weekend at Bristol, with 15 to go, everybody came down and took 2. Some guys came down, took 2. Some guys came down, took 4. And it really felt like that was because of Blaney. He came down, got 4, came back out second, third, 4, something like that on the last restart. And that really felt like the race-winning move. And Ty Gibbs had to hold him off for 15 laps. So Blaney got the lead with like 7 to go and was pulling away. And earlier in the race, Riley Herbst had dumped the 8, had dumped Kyle Busch, and kind of why I brought him up. Kind of want to, part of what I was thinking about, but dumped Kyle Busch. Well, with 2 to go, Herbst and Busch got together, and Busch paid Herbst back and brought out a caution, and just lined up for a green-white checker, and Gibbs got the whole shot and held off Blaney for 2 laps and went on to win his first career Cup race. So,
I don't recall that.
sometimes you're just that guy on a given Sunday,
Yes.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. I thought it would be over right now, and it will be. Please just listen.
Well, yeah, because does it get to a point? I know, like Father Time is undefeated. Does it get to a point when you're a motorsports driver that it's like, you know what, I just, I can't. I'm not winning. I'm getting older. Is there an age but that you get to that point where, or is it something that it doesn't matter as long as you have the right crew chief and the right crew to set your car up, you can race until you're 55 or 60?
I think it's diminishing returns at a certain point. I know it's hard to say anymore because we see guys in their mid 40s. No, this is true of NASCAR. This is true of NASCAR for as long as it's been around. Guys in their mid 40s being successful, winning races, and then other guys in their late 30s that just don't have it anymore. I don't think there's. I think it's just diminishing returns. At a certain point, you do get too old.
It is.
And it's not so much you get too old. It's just that the other guys just get too good. They're the young guys coming along, and you see this in every generation of sports, in any sport, is that the younger guys are just that much more talented because they've been around for because, you know, at the beginning of sports, at the beginning of American sports, guys when sports started becoming a profession, a real profession,
Yeah.
whether, in the 40s and 50s, and we see a lot of guys who wouldn't start playing competitive sports until their high school, maybe, in college. By the 70s and 80s, more kids were playing sports at a younger and being more focused on an individual sport than playing all the sports. And being more, by the time you get to the 90s, you had kids that were only playing one sport from the time they were 8. I think Wayne Gretzky being the model of the modern athlete. Because by the time he was 3, Tiger Woods being another prime example. They knew exactly what their sport was going to be, so they dedicated their entire lives to playing that sport. And so in the 50s and 60s, in the 40s and 50s, guys played sports and then worked to feed their family. And then so by the time we get to when those guys are starting to age, those guys played in their late 40s and early 50s, and by the time but a lot of guys were done playing in their mid 30s or early 30s. Then you have that the 70s and 80s, you had guys that were washed by the time they were in their late 20s because they, and then you have this but everybody started putting their kids in sports, and it became a pathway out of the inner city and out of off the farm. And so, you go to school to get an education and play sports. And so many guys, so many families were putting an emphasis on their kids playing sports, and the idea that, if you work hard enough, you can go play sports and have a career.
Yes.
And then when you get done playing sports, you can go into TV, or you can do whatever you did with your degree, or you made a lot of money. But racing was the odd one out, because so many guys, to race, you have to be in a family that races. And so your granddad, your uncle, your dad, somebody in the family was a racer, and you grew up around the track, and you didn't know anything else. You didn't know how to do anything else. And that was very true until the mid to late 90s, when guys were starting to come up and but it was different because, they were coming up with degrees, and they were going to school, and they were getting educations, and so you didn't have to race as long to keep feeding the family. And so you see guys, guys that would race for 5 or 10 years, and then where'd they go? Oh, they retired. They've been retired for 10 years now, and they've been on their farm in Manitowoc making cheese.
Yeah. Big teeth.
And then you have other guys who just stuck around, hung around. Bill Elliott, Terry Labonte, Sterling Marlin, Mark Martin, the end of the old guard, the guys that came up in the 80s who were born in the 60s and in the 40s and 50s and raced in the 70s and 80s. There were when their prime was the 80s and 90s, and they declined throughout the 2000s, and they raced because they didn't have anything else that they could do, that they wanted to do. Somebody wanted to give them a ride. They had name recognition. They had champions provisionals, and now you have dedicated full-time racers. And you have money. You have so many. When Carl Edwards walked away, Matt Kenseth walked away, they weren't bad drivers. They weren't. Their careers were on the decline, but they were still competitive. They could still run top 5, top 10, win a race here and there. Martin Truex comes to mind. The guys, Dale Jr. He, superly popular. Could, if he was to make a call and call up any team in the league in the garage area, they'd happily give him a seat. He's so hugely popular.
Yeah.
They would sell truckloads of merchandise. It wouldn't be no issue selling a truckload of merchandise.
Correct.
And getting factory support and building a team that can be competitive with the money that Dale Jr. could command. But and then there's so many, I don't even know where I'm going with this now. What was your question?
Oh, about is there, I guess, but is there a point or an age that you get as a driver where you say, that's it, I can't do it? But obviously not, because like you just said, there are guys racing into their mid 40s that still have it. And like you said too, it definitely, motorsports, no matter if it's NASCAR, F1, or Indy, you're a family. Like Earnhardt, like Dale Sr. So Junior followed after his dad. The Petties, same thing. Richard Petty, so on and so forth. There's been family. There's family. You grow up around the track, is what you do. Like you said with Tiger and Wayne Gretzky, you knew, like, growing up, I'm going to be a NASCAR driver. I'm going to be a driver. I don't like to say NASCAR, just a driver in general, because I was around the track all the time. That's what I grew up doing and seeing and enjoying doing. Like, I know I talked to my girlfriend's dad's girlfriend who's from Cuba, and she said that in Cuba, there's only 2 sports they play in Cuba, or one primary sport is baseball. Baseball. That's it. So to get away from everything else that's going on in your country, you go play baseball as an escape, in hopes that you're able to get good enough to leave the country and come to the States and play some form of baseball, maybe make it all the way to the major leagues. But yeah, that's my question was, is it, is there a certain, age that you reach that it's quit time, or you just go until you just don't have it no more?
I really think it's an individual thing. Some guys, it really depends on who you are. It's not like, it really depends. It's like, it's kind of that thing in all sports. As long as if you still have the desire to do it and somebody will give you a contract, you can do it until they pry your cold dead carcass off the field, out of the car.
Right.
And you may not, like, if you were a three-time champion with 40 some odd wins, and you hadn't won in 3 years. Bug Labonte is a great example, right? He had some 20 odd wins in his heyday. He won a championship, beat Earnhardt, battled Earnhardt for the 2000 championship, and won by 60 points, and And then he hit the wall, and when he left Gibbs, because Gibbs didn't want to re-sign him, they wanted to get younger because they were, him and Tony. He was aging out, and so he ended up going to Gin Racing, I think. I don't remember. And he went from competing for wins and being okay. He won by 265. He won. He won going away. And
Where is it? That item. Not as familiar. But she appears to have a lead on someone who does.
And then he won.
You may recall that before his anti-AI crusade, he was a leading expert.
2 crown jewel races that year. And but by 2003 he was washed. And he was 64, 2003. So he would have been 39. Yeah. And 39 is about the cutoff.
He's already generated fake credentials for the same. All I need to do is get close to
And
you can't be serious. This is not worth risking his life over. Yeah, it is.
And when he left, when Gibbs let him go, and he
So you're willing to sacrifice Christian on the slim possibility.
Sorry, I'm looking.
Yeah.
Even going to stop.
His sidearms is loaded with 6 non-lethal EMP. They will kill anything electronic, but they will also seriously injure anything that's not. So proceed with caution. Before anyone plucks up the nerve to ask, yes, mine is bigger than yours.
So you're just going to take it from him without causing any permanent damage?
Well, sorry, I'm reading. Forgive me.
No problem.
This is a dumb question, but how is the world's most notorious killer robot supposed to get into an AI convention without people noticing?
I'm trying to figure out where he. So 2006. So yeah, after the 05 season, Gibbs wanted to get younger, and he went over to Petty. It was Petty Enterprises that he drove for. Then he drove for Hall of Fame, and so I guess it really depends on the driver, depends on, and what I was going with that was by the time he got to the point in his career where he was no longer competitive, he wasn't getting competitive rides anymore.
Right.
And he kept getting the quality of his. He went from being on top of the world at Gibbs to being in the middle of, to being near the top of the world, to being in the middle of the world, to being at the bottom of the world in terms of the team and the equipment and the talent that was surrounding him. And he soldiered on for a few more years after he drove for TRG Motorsports. And then he went over to Daughtry for the 2011 season. He ran the 2013 season. He ran the full. He ran for Go Fast. And his last race was 2016. He drove one last time at the fall Talladega race. And he finished. There we are.
I do want you to know that I have the greatest respect for China.
I mean, it could have gone either way. Anyone have eyes on Sadler?
I just saw his name. That was Ryan Blaney's rookie year. Wow, I can't believe they've both been in the league 10 years now. Oh, there he is.
Hard to imagine.
He finished 31st.
Stay low. This is supposed to be a stealth mission. But the avoidance of doubt.
So, It really depends on who wants to give you a ride, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Because he raced another he won his last race in 2003, and then he raced another 13 years without a win. So, you know, and it really is a matter of you know, how many guys have we seen him stick around in other sports when they've kind of hit the wall, and they should probably hang it up, but they keep soldiering on because they want one more year. I mean, we were talking about Ovi at the top of the show, and you know, there's so many guys that are in that age bracket where they could easily go 1, 2, 3, 4 more years, and they could easily hang it, and they could have easily hung it up 3 years ago. So it's really not a, it really depends on the individual and the teams that are available and what they want to do with it. If they do they want to just race around and collect a paycheck, or do they want to try and win races, or and can they
Well,
can they still win races?
I appreciate you reading the. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna take this.
And then likely win championships.
Hello.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, where have you been? Please came to the foundation looking for you. Are you in trouble?
Yes, I am. So are you. Look, I know about Project Black Box.
You do?
Right.
Only one. Just tell me where you are. I'll get you out of here.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Oh, this is neat. We can close on this. To be in the College Football Hall of Fame, a coach must have won at least 50% of his games. Mike Leach won
Yeah.
59.6% before his death in 2022. The National Football Foundation will lower the winning percentage to 59.5% starting in 2027 to address Mike Leach's special circumstance.
We're gonna put Mike Leach in the College Football Hall of Fame.
Looking that way.
Yeah.
Let me double check that. Yep.
Yeah, I know. Feels weird for me too.
Well, he's definitely one of the most, I wouldn't call him bizarre head coaches, but not the normal college football head coach
Yep.
that you would have.
Right.
Way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So this is what I found the article from. Oh, this is from last year. Huh. The National Football Foundation announced an adjustment to the eligibility criteria for coaches to be considered for induction in the NFF College Football Hall of Fame. In consultation with the American Football Coaches Association, the FFF Honors Court, and the FFA Awards Committee, the foundation has revised the minimum career winning percentage requirement for coaching eligibility from 6.600 to 5.595. This change will go into effect beginning with the 2027 NFF College Football Hall of Fame ballot. All other eligibility requirements for coaches remain unchanged. To be considered for the NFF College Football Hall of Fame, coaches must have served as a head coach for a minimum of 10 seasons and have coached at least 100 games. Coaches become eligible for consideration 3 full seasons after retirement or immediately upon following retirement if they are at least 70 years of age. And active coaches become eligible upon reaching age 75. Well,
No,
that's cool.
he'd make a cool part of. I mean, obviously he's not alive to talk.
Yeah.
I hope that his family, whoever is there to be there when they induct him.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that he's no
Correct.
longer available to accept
Yeah,
the
he was.
honor.
Like I said, he was one of the best personalities in college football for a long time.
Yeah.
Wherever he coached, and there for a while. I mean, think of you had Mike Leach at Mississippi State, and you had Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. It couldn't get any different sides of the spectrum than those two. Those two were on complete opposite sides of the spectrum. So, yeah. I'm curious to see how Lane's going to do this year at LSU.
Yeah, that'll be.
Yeah.
Well, they were not good. So
yeah. No, Brian Kelly left that program in. I'm not going to say in shambles, but not good. So Kiffin's going to have some cleaning up to do.
He certainly didn't leave it better than he found it.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, they went 7-6 last year, which is unacceptable.
Yes.
At LSU.
Very.
And 3-5 in conference play is
yeah, not yeah.
With losses to a down Florida. Well, Vanderbilt was good. A&M was good. A down Bama. And barely squeaking a win against Arkansas and Western Kentucky.
That right there is the one that probably sticks out the most is a near loss to Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
A team you're not supposed to to lose to.
Right.
And then, well, he was already gone at that point. I'm not sure which game he got let go after. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how LSU rebounds this next year.
Yeah.
Because they could be, it's LSU, it's Southern, it's Louisiana, it's a football hotbed. They won't have, they have Lane Kiffin now. So they won't have any issues recruiting with, they won't have issues with recruiting. It'll be interesting to see what they can get out of the port, and building out of the portal, because that's going to be the biggest. Going to be the biggest thing going forward in the next.
I'm curious, but too, when we get to media day, what he's gonna say to the media, what his goals are for them to win. Are they going to be? I mean, does he think that he has the team that could win an SEC championship, get to a playoff? The college football playoff, obviously, stuff like that. I'm curious to hear from him what his plan is to get LSU back on track.
Yeah, I don't know. Could it very well. And I don't think it has to be all in one year,
Oh no.
It's building better. Improvement. But it can't. But I don't think LSU will give him 6 years. I think they expect to be competing for national titles within 3.
I was just gonna say, but at least 3, because you're gonna have to give him some time to recruit his kids for at least 2 years. This year he'll be playing with Brian Kelly's recruits if they decided to stay. And obviously you have the
Yeah.
transfer portal, you can transfer, and you have kids that can go, hey,
Mm.
I play with Lane at Ole Miss. He's gone. I'm going to go to LSU and play
Yeah.
under him again. Or you have
Yeah.
other kids that go, hey, I'm up here playing at Montana or whatever, and hey, Lane's down there now. I wanted to play at Ole Miss. Now I'm going to go to LSU. So
Right.
you
Right.
can get the guys that you want, but as far as recruiting goes, that takes a year or 2 for the coach that's now in that spot to get the kids that he thinks can help his program. Same thing with John Summerall at Florida. I'm curious to see him
Yeah.
coming over as from Tulane, how he will switch from being in the American to the SEC and vice versa with Alex Golish going from the American to the SEC. So I'm curious how that's going to work out for both of them. I did a show earlier with Alec, and Alec has Auburn winning the SEC championship game.
Okay.
I'm not going to disagree with that.
All right.
That's a big stretch for Alex Golish, who's a new head coach. That's big. I mean, again, can it happen? Absolutely. But it's
Yes.
not going to be as easy as I think people think it's going to be. But that's just me.
Yeah, it's never isn't.
Do you gentlemen want to call it a show there?
Yeah, we can call
All
it a show
right.
there. I'm good with that.
All right, Luke, go ahead and
Okay.
talk about your show, bud.
All right. Enhanced Sports Show rolls on Saturday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, we'll cover the first round of the NHL and NBA playoffs. We'll recap the WNBA draft and the Masters tournament, which was a doozy. We'll talk WrestleMania too, of course. And we'll recap the college hockey championship. I knew I forgot something. Also, your thoughts and comments. This date in sports history, the ridiculous sign of the week, sports trivia, and the good article of the week. Number is 512-543-4662. Don't forget to like and share the page. And remember, we're on Facebook Live.
All right. Well, this will wrap up this episode of the Walk Report. Next week, guys, we'll do like a mixed show where we'll talk and also be watching the NFL draft. I'll be on for a certain period of time. Probably won't be on the whole show, but I'll be on for a certain period of time. But again, we'll be NFL draft next week. Round 1 is next Thursday night. So we will be paying attention to that.
Indeed, we will.
I want to thank these two gentlemen for making this day fun. Like I said, we'll be back next week. This has been the Walker Report. We are part of NGSC Sports. Remember the website, it's ngscsports.com for all your current sports content. I am the sports Bradley Walker. I also want to thank the men and women of our armed services and our first responders. Thank you for doing what you do. We would not be doing what we're doing if we're not. Until next week, everyone, stay safe out there. Have a good weekend. Peace.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Yes.
Cut, print, send it.